Or have I just simply written a book, made a false claim that this is from Allah, and gave it to another man to read?
No, you have corrupted it if you write a message that goes against the message of the Quran, if you change the contents, if you change the sentence, if you change the words.
So I've corrupted the Quran you have at your house, the original Quran, the word of Allah, have corrupted it. Okay.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to write a book. I'll call it the Quran, and I'll start handing it out to people so we can make claims that your Quran is corrupted. How do you feel about that? According to your logic, okay, if I write a book today, call it Quran, and I give it to people, I sell it for a small price, as Allah says in the Quran. Okay, that would mean now, according to your logic, that your Quran, your Islamic Quran, is now corrupted forever.
Well, I mean, if you still have, I mean, no matter what you do,
does that logically follow, my friend?
Does that
logically follow?
You need to understand, no matter what you do, the original Quran, the text, will always be memorized. So you can corrupt it, but as long as you have the original copy,
so wait a second. So if I write a book and call it Quran and sell it to people, the original Quran will not get corrupted.
Well, so if we still have possession, if we still have it memorized in our heads, then you cannot cease to exist. You cannot automatically take out reality. It will still exist. Even if
so it will not be corrupted.
Still exist, yeah. And the problem with the Bible is, the problem with the Bible and the Injil is, we believe that the original message of the Injil.
So wait. I'm not done. So if I write the book, just see, don't super track. Like we're not in a race here. We're trying to have a conversation, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand your logic, because that verse says, "Woe to those who write their books with their own hands and then claim it is from Allah for a small price." Okay. Now, at the time, okay, when that verse was written, there were some Jews in Mecca, okay, and let's say they were writing books claiming, this is the word of Allah. Okay, fair enough. Now, there was also Jews in Jerusalem. So when they wrote these books and sold them to people claiming these are the words of Allah, did the book in Jerusalem all of a sudden that they had, the original Torah, the uncorrupted, get corrupted because someone wrote a book and sell it to others claiming it's from Allah? Was there only one copy in Mecca?
Yes. So you refer, sorry, can you just simplify?
So here's the thing, right?
Go on.
At the time, there were some Jews in Mecca, correct?
Right, yeah.
They had the Torah with them.
Yeah.
There were some Christians that had the Injil with them. But there was also Jews and Christians all over the place. There was some in Syria, some in Iraq, some in Jerusalem, okay? And they had the books as well. Now, the Jews in Mecca who wrote the books with their own hand, as the Quran says, and sold it claimed it from Allah and sold it for a small price, okay? Now, even if we were to go by your logic, that will corrupt the original they had in Mecca, the original Torah and the Gospel. Does that now mean that the Gospel and the Gospel and the Torah they had everywhere else around the world, like Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Jerusalem, have all of these copies and scribes all of a sudden now become magically corrupted because someone wrote a book called the Torah and Injil?
When you say original Torah Injil, what are you talking about?
I'm referring to your paradigm, because according to you, there's an original Torah, okay? It was corrupted because Allah said, "Woe to those who write their books with their own hands." Now, I'm just trying to understand the logic here, because honestly, it's not adding up. The way you're putting it together it's not logically adding up, right? So I'm just trying to understand, like, what's the logic behind that? Because if you tell me now, for example, that if I write a book, call it Quran, and sell it to someone for a small price, and that corrupts the physical Quran that you have in your house, that is respectfully stupid.
Well, I mean, again, it depends if the contents of the Quran changes, if the meaning behind the Quran changes.
So let's say
if they say, why should put the gods beside the one God, then it's completely okay. 100%.
Yeah, I understand. The one I wrote with my own hand is corrupted, but does that corrupt the copy that you have in your house is my question.
No, it does not.
Okay, if it doesn't corrupt the physical copy that you have in your house, then the same logic must apply, because there were other copies in Jerusalem at the time, okay? And they had the books with their own hands. Now, if you tell me that the original Torah, okay, it was corrupted because Allah said, "Woe to those who write their books with their own hands and then claim it is from Allah for a small price," that were not touched. Because even if I granted to you that, because even that logically doesn't follow, let's say that the Jews at the time, the Christians, wrote books with their own hands, claimed it from Allah, sold it for a small price in Mecca, and there was a copy of the original Torah in Mecca, okay? Firstly, that does not mean that the copy of the original Torah got corrupted.
Yeah, well,
Secondly, that copy, that could, even if we go, like, let it follow up with your logic, even if we, let's say, it did get corrupted, it wasn't the only copy in the world. We also had copies of the Torah and the Injil all over the world, because we don't only have one copy. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, 100%.
Okay.
But again, the original Torah and the original Gospel, I believe, do not exist. There's zero access to that.
Yeah,
Whereas
but
with
what
Quran,
you believe,
the Quran can be corrupted right now. We will still
but
have
what you believe
access to the
is
original
subjective,
version.
my friend Z. What you believe is subjective, because at the end of the day, look, the Quran comes 600 years after Jesus, after the Injil, after
Yeah,
the
Jesus
Torah,
comes around
right?
1,000, 2,000 years after Moses, I believe so.
That's
It's
okay. But
normal.
what I'm trying to say,
Yep.
okay, is that we, the Christians, we look at it this way.
Yeah.
If the Quran, 600 years after Jesus, is making claims, okay, about the previous scriptures, right? Now, these claims that are being made, okay, they're all positive claims, because the Quran is the first book that is claiming previous scriptures are corrupted, okay? So therefore, now it's an onus on the Quran and on the people who believe in the Quran to prove corruption, okay? Because now, since you've made the positive claim, as the Quran, I'm talking about the book on its own, you must be able to substantiate the claim you make. Otherwise the claim is false. Do you understand? Because whoever makes the claim first, okay, must substantiate it. So how does Islam substantiate the claim of corruption without using Islam?
Well, I mean, I'm not really a professional. I'm not really 100% educated, but I mean, the reason I came to you need to understand, right? The reason I came to my conclusion that Islam is the truth is because when you look at, like I mentioned before, when you look at the message of all the prophets, they all preached oneness of God. This is the only reason I accept Islam.
I'm just trying to understand about.
You can look at the belief of Christianity.
Brother,
Right.
the thing is, okay, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to get into what they taught and what the Quran taught. That's all irrelevant. What I'm trying to say, I'm talking about the corruption of the scriptures. Because if we were to see that there's no evidence proving the claims that the Quran makes about the scriptures, okay, we can then conclude that the scriptures aren't corrupted. Okay, that's the issue. I don't like, to me, it doesn't matter what the Quran is teaching against what the Torah and the Injil are teaching, okay? Because at the end of the day, you don't have, as a Muslim, you don't have the books of the prophets. You don't have the Torah that you claim is lost. You do not have the Injil that you claim is lost. Therefore, you don't have a frame of reference, okay, to show you what's true and what is not true. You only have the Quran making positive claims, okay, that cannot be substantiated.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So, for example, if I tell you, the sky is red, like, what? Prove it, right? Because I'm making a claim. The sky is red is a ridiculous claim. So when the Quran makes a claim that the previous scriptures are corrupted, even though it doesn't really make it, okay, how is that to be substantiated, Islamically speaking?
Yeah, well, I mean, when the Quran mentioned that the previous scriptures are corrupted, right? So looking at it from an outsider point of view, because there was a point where I studied all three Abrahamic faiths and I concluded that Islam was the truth, right? So looking at it from a completely outsider view, not a Muslim view, not a Judaism view, not a Christianity view, right?
Yes.
You look at how the Bible came to be, right? And it says, I'm not sure if this is true, but it says there's many anonymous authors who are not known. Right, so if you have all these people contributing towards a book who don't even know each other, what is the probability that this book can get corrupted? Very high. Because you have a bunch of people over hundreds of years all contributing towards the same book, yet they've never even spoken to each other. How high of a chance do you think is that there can be false or corruption?
See, the issue is you're making a claim, but you're at the same time, like it's the issue is you haven't read it. You told me when you first started having this conversation with me, which I really appreciate because you're being super respectful, right?
Yeah, of course,
That
100%.
that you haven't read the Bible. So how do you really know
Well, I
what
mean, I've
these
read part,
prophets
but not
taught?
all
Because
of it.
the only way to find out, right, whether they
Right.
teaching contradictory things is that to go and read the Bible to find out whether they're actually teaching things that contradict each other, right? But
Right.
because
Yeah.
you
Well.
haven't read it, you can't really make that claim, my brother.
Yeah. Well, I understand a general rule of thumb for the Abrahamic prophets, or to preach the oneness of God, to stop people from worshipping
But
other gods, other
how do you
idols.
know how do you know any of that since you don't have their scriptures? You're claiming that the scriptures are corrupted. So
Well, I mean,
where
simply
are
you
the
can
real
read
scriptures?
stories about him in the Bible. You can read in the Bible in the
But
from
I thought
Moses,
that's
have no other
corrupted,
gods
brother.
besides me. Have no other gods besides me. That is one of the messages that Moses preached for God. And you
Yes,
have many
yes,
other.
that's fine.
Okay, let me ask you a question. All right, let me ask you a question.
Wait, before we move on, can I interject?
Oh yeah, تفضل.
Go on.
Yeah, when you talked about how many narrators, whatever,
Yeah.
half of your faith comes from hadith. Now tell me how many narrators are there in hadith?
Oh, that's hard. That's a hard question.
Well, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but our main book would be the Quran, and we believe the Quran is authored directly by God.
Ah,
We have
here we
no
go.
we have no human contributors
But see,
directly from
there's
God.
bias there, my friend Z.
That is
There's
our
bias
belief
there.
that
So
the
when
words
it
are
comes to
directly
the
from God.
hadith,
Yeah.
you're not assessing it with the same scrutiny. You're trying to assess the previous scriptures. But when it comes to the previous scriptures, right, you're being very, you're scrutinizing everything. But what I'm trying to say to you, okay, even if we go now to the Old Testament, for example, the verses that you're claiming that your Lord God is one and everything else, fair enough.
Yeah.
But the Lord God that is one, that they are claiming is
Mhm.
one, is Yahweh. It's not Allah.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Allah is not
Yeah,
one
and,
of
yeah, but
the names of our
it's just
God.
a matter of language. It's just a matter of language. We refer to Allah as
No,
Allah because our Prophet spoke Arabic. That's the only reason, right?
no.
You
So
refer.
basically,
Okay, so when people call Jesus Jesus, I can say that's not his name.
Habibi,
His name wasn't
Habibi,
Jesus
the
at the
name
time. It
is.
was
Would you
incorrect.
agree? Would you agree that the name of your God is Allah? Would you agree to that statement?
Yeah, that's what we refer to him as, but he can also be referred to as God or whatever language
Okay.
you
So
speak. You can say God in that language.
does the word Allah change when you speak when you're speaking English? Okay. Does the word Allah change? Does his name change or does it stay the same?
Well, the meaning is God, quite frankly. So you can call him God.
Yeah,
If I say
but
God
the
now,
thing
I'm
is,
referring to the
brother,
Islamic God, Allah.
but when you say God, okay,
Yeah.
you could be referring to any God because God is a title, it's not a name. I'm saying to you, since Allah, his name is Allah, okay, God, the God of Islam, his name is Allah, okay, his name is not going to be translated, is it? It's going to stay the same.
Yeah, that's how we call him Allah. We can, if we wanted to, we could refer to him in another language, but it's advised that we refer to him as Allah because, the Quran was revealed in Arabic and we prefer to
That's right.
maintain the original language instead
Because
of changing it around.
Because see, the issue is that even the Shahada is La ilaha illallah, meaning that there's
Yeah.
no God. Ilah is God. It's not Allah. Allah is the name of the God. Because you're saying, I testify that there's no God but Allah, is what you're saying, right? In the Shahada.
Yeah, 100%.
Therefore, Allah is the name of the God of Islam. Now, the name of our
Yes.
God, if I want to say my Shahada, Christian Shahada, there's no God but Yahweh. It's not Allah. You understand? That's the
Okay,
issue.
bro, that's completely fine. But if you were to speak Arabic to me right now, who would you refer God to us? You refer to him as Allah because that's the term for God in the Arabic language.
No,
The only
that's not
difference
a,
is you
that's
speak in
not,
different
that's,
language.
but it's not the name. You said it. It's a term. A term is not a name. Okay. A term is, the word term comes from terminology. Okay. From title. This is a title. Okay. That we use. Because even if we go to John 1:1 in Arabic, okay, we see that al-kalima kan Allah. Okay. So we see that the word Allah has been used, okay, to just say God. Okay, it's not the name of our God. It's just the title that we use because we're not allowed to keep uttering the name of our God on our tongues willy-nilly. Does that make sense?
Allah doesn't have a proper name.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Is that what you're saying, basically? Oh, he left.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Allah doesn't have a proper name. He has 99 names, which are attributes. And
Yep.
Allah, which is Al-Ilah, which is a title. Yeah. There's no proper name like Yahweh.
Yep. I just, I think I tried to explain to him, but it was a bit, yeah, it's a bit hard to, for him hard to understand.